Hi, I'm Gene McLaughlin. I'd like to welcome you to Old Bridge Outlook with Mayor Owen Henry. On this program, we bring you discussions with people making things happen in the township and introduce you to some of those people that are in the news right now. And today we're proud to welcome in our Grand Marshal of our Memorial Day Parade, Captain Angus Baptiste, U.S. Army retired. He'll be the Grand Marshal. We're going to be talking to Captain Baptiste about some of his experiences in the service in just a moment, so please stay with us. Mayor, just one thing came to mind in recent news. We're finally going to clean up some of Lawrence Harbor, Margaret's Creek.
Yes, Gene,
got some money.
Thanks again for having me. The federal government has come up with about $7 million to clean up the Margaret Creek portion. That's the portion between Lawrence Harbor and Cliffwood Beach. It's right off Route 35. They're going in there and they're cleaning up some of the lead deposits, some of the battery casings, some of the pollution that was dumped there illegally years ago. So it's a big step in the right direction, but it's a small step, but it's still a big step. It's the right step. And as we've been promised, as more and more money becomes available from Washington, that we will continue that massive project down there, which is almost $70 million. The cost has been put on it. So it's about $70 million has been allocated for this cleanup. It's going to be ongoing for a few months now, I think about 4 months to get us through the summer. And hopefully there'll be more money in this year's budget, and they'll continue their way up the coast and get
And
that
one
area
day that waterfront will be pristine.
Pristine, right? And it's, as we always say, it's such a shame to go there and see such a great view, and with a big black fence between the residents of Old Bridge.
That's a shame.
And that
really
view.
is.
So hopefully we're going in the right direction. We're very happy that it's occurring now. We're very happy about it.
Okay, well, thank you, Mayor. Well, Mayor, without further ado, I would like to return to our guest today, Angus Baptiste. As I said, Angus, you're retired U.S. Army captain. If you do me a favor, just give our residents a little bit of your background, please.
Thank you, sir, for having me. It's an honor to be here. Well, I was born in the Caribbean, on a Caribbean island, Grenada, small, beautiful island. I'm sure
you've heard about it.
Yes. Okay. So I was born and raised there, and after high school, as a lot of Caribbean people do, we migrate to Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, really?
Which is a huge home for the West Indian community.
Right.
So we took that path and moved up to Brooklyn to continue my education and and prepare myself for the future.
Where'd you go to school? Where was your education, your basic education? I see you got degrees, advanced degrees later on, but where'd you go to school in Brooklyn?
I got my bachelor's from Thomas Edison State College right here in New Jersey, in Trenton, and my master's I pursued that at Webster University in Missouri.
In Missouri, okay. I noticed in your bio that you were initially an enlisted man. You enlisted in 2002.
I was.
What provoked you to enlist?
It's something I always wanted to do. I'll take it all the way back to 1983. Like, if you're my age and older, I'm sure you guys know of the invasion and the first time seeing U.S. soldiers, and I was like, immediately, that's what I'm going to be.
Really? So that gave you the bug.
So yes,
that's sort of interesting.
So it was something, growing up, like my old high school friends, my former high school friends can tell you, when that question was asked, what do you want to be? I was always the one. I'm going to be a soldier.
That's interesting. Well, fantastic. When you got in there, I noticed in your bio also, you went to Fort Jackson and you took a course in combat documentation and production. Would you enlighten us a little? You gave me a great description off the air. Enlighten us a little bit. What was that?
Yes, like after basic training, I got shipped off to Fort Meade, Maryland, at DINFORCE, Defense Information School. And that's where we pursued that course, a 9 to 10 month course in combat documentation and production specialist. And that's basically ComCam. We are the eyes and ears on the battlefield. We are the guys who are running around with the cameras, the still photography and videography, and capturing all of the war images and, and just combat on a whole.
Mayor, just think about that for a minute. Angus and I were talking about that a few minutes ago. In the midst of all this chaos going on in combat, he's running around with a camera documenting it.
Yeah, and it's so important as we watch the shows now from World War II, where you're glued to the television now, and you watch them in color, the combat photographers and the people who document. It's so important to document, and you really see the true story.
Oh, it's just tremendous. You got to be
conditions.
everybody as brave as the actual people doing the fighting, eh?
Well, there's a saying in the Army that goes, the brave ones were shooting bullets, the crazy ones were shooting.
Really?
Yes.
That's a great phrase. That's a great phrase.
Would you rather have a camera or an M16?
A camera any day, but I always have my M16 close by.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. That's a great phrase, though.
Yeah, it is.
And then after that, you went to Germany, and you went to another combat training center.
Yes, at the time it was named the CMTC Combat Maneuver Training Center, and of course that was renamed to the Joint Readiness Maneuver Center a few years later. Did a 3-year stint there.
And what did that entail? Was that still more camera communication
Basically,
work, or?
all of it. That's basically my main job there. We were embedded with combat units who would come there to do a full rotation. What the Army call a rotation is basically a combat scenario for units right before they deploy to war, Iraq, Afghanistan. So they would come to CMTC and do a full-blown exercise, and we were the guys who would run around with these guys on the battlefield, capturing images of combat and basically all the action that they do.
Did you use those training exercises as training for yourself to produce video that was later used to help other training?
Absolutely, and most of it was used for what's called AAR, after action reviews. So a lot of the combat commanders would be very happy to have that footage to look back and see, where are their downfalls, what are they doing well, and such and that. So it's always used as a training tool, and then there's part of it that's used as imagery at the Pentagon and stuff to show the nation what the Army does.
That's really neat because sort of a dual training. It trains you in further technique, and it gives them additional methods to train the combat people.
Absolutely.
It's a great idea. One thing that caught my attention, Mayor, with Angus's bio was he exceeded at PT, and he wore an Army PT medal.
Yeah. PT
How
badge.
did you come about doing that? What did you have to do to get a PT medal? Were you always a fitness buff?
I was. For all of my military career, prior to the military, I had no awareness, of my capabilities.
Right.
But once I got in, I quickly found out that I was good at, at physical training, running and, weaponry and stuff like that. So obviously I took advantage of that and I excelled. I'm the guy who was always in the gym or, on the road doing that extra mile. And so it just paid off.
And they give you a ribbon for it now. Huh?
Yes,
That's
yes.
pretty neat.
We in the Army we do what's called an APFT PT test, physical training test, Army physical training test twice per year or every 6 months, and of course that measures your capability, to be combat ready. And so once we do those tests, they grade you. It goes up to 300 and. And that's they do a run and they do a sit up and some push ups and.
How many other people get an award like this?
Not many. It's a very tough, tough regiment.
I bet it is.
Yes, and you do have to have a lot of endurance, of course, to max at 300, which I often did. But without me sound like I'm bragging too much.
No, that's fine. You have every right to. You have every right to.
It's just mainly a lot of mental preparation and physical preparation for it. So once you prepare, you should do fairly well.
That's fantastic. Okay, if we can move on just a little bit. We talked a little bit about some of the awards, and I'd just like to cite a couple of them. There are many more, Mayor. You were NCO of the quarter. You were NCO of the year.
Yes, absolutely.
What did you have to do to achieve that honor?
We went through what's called a military board, and we appeared in front of a panel of senior enlisted and sometimes field grade officer. And during that board, prior to that board, it culminated with that board, but prior to that, we went through a regiment of Army physical training and exercises. So that included a PT test, weaponry, and a host of other stuff. And that also included your military education, your civilian education. So everything that encompasses the soldier, the total soldier,
Yes, sir.
or what the soldier needs to get promoted or moved up the ranks. That's what that entailed. And of course, that culminated with that board where you would appear and they would drill you on a host of military questions.
That's a pretty tough regimen, Mayor. Huh?
Most valuable
Yes,
soldier.
yes.
I'll tell you, most valuable soldier, and not only for the quarter, but for the year.
Yes, well, for the year, it's extremely tough and extremely competitive. So it's a very, very big deal, and it's a major award. And so I was just elated to have won it.
And at that time, you were staff sergeant.
I was.
You were a staff
I
sergeant.
was. I believe I had, yes, I had just turned staff sergeant or already a staff sergeant.
But that didn't last long. Then you went on to get the commission.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And tell us about that. Where'd you go for that? To Fort Benning, or?
I did attend OCS officer training at Fort Benning.
Benning?
Yes.
And when was that? What year was that?
I got commissioned in 2008, I believe, sometime November 15th in 2008.
But that was the Signal Corps. You were in the Signal
Yes,
Corps
I
then.
got
That was your
commissioned.
MOS.
I got commissioned
Okay.
into the Signal Corps, and obviously I didn't have a choice in that. Big Army selects where they're going to send their
Right,
officers.
right. But you
the
already
Signal
had
Corps is
some
great.
sort of signal training from the communication,
Yes.
right? With the
Yes, and
battlefield
although it was
communication.
different, it was more on the leadership side, being a commissioned officer, a lot more leadership involved. It did help a little bit.
And then you were a platoon leader.
I was. Once I was successful with my training and I completed all 3 phases of my training, my first assignment back in Germany was as a platoon leader.
What does a signal platoon comprise of?
The average platoon will have a combat-ready platoon, like we
Right.
have between 40 and 50,
50, okay.
soldiers, and between maybe 6 to 10 NCOs, non-commissioned officers.
Okay.
So it's a pretty hefty responsibility, you know. For
I bet.
Yes.
Yeah. And you were deployed to Germany then?
Yes, I was deployed to Germany when I took that position.
And what did you do in Germany, if you can
Upon
discuss
arriving there, my first assignment, we got deployed to Israel to do a joint.
Really?
Yes, to do a joint training with the Israeli Defense Force, and that's an annual training that the U.S. military, not just Army, but also Navy and Air Force, they do that joint training. I believe in the summer each year.
Is what you hear about the Israeli military all true? Is it, they sound like very formidable soldiers?
Yeah, they're definitely, that's, it was such a great experience, and I just got to learn so much. It's a very militaristic state, and so all of the soldiers take their duties extremely.
They really have to, don't they,
serious.
over there?
Yes.
As I said before, on the air, this is a man of many achievements,
I'm
Mayor.
in awe.
And we're not finished yet. We're not
Keep talking,
finished yet.
because I love it.
It's not finished.
I love it.
Okay, having said that, Angus, I'm going to ask you to just hold on a minute. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
And folks, we'll be back in a moment to talk more with Angus Baptiste about his military service and his upcoming role as Grand Marshal of the parade on Memorial Day. Please stay with us.
I'm a single mother, and I was the main one working, so I never thought that I could go back to school, My sister, my mother, everybody wanted to help me with my kids. I could not have gotten my diploma without my family.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
This is Pepper. He's a very unique looking tuxedo cat. He's approximately 1.5 years old. He's been at the shelter for just over a year. He came in February of 2016. When Pepper first came into the shelter, he was a scared little boy, and he's turned into a super sweet, gentle soul. He loves bacon, he's cat friendly, and he gives great headbutts. He also likes to sit in your lap. At first, he's a little shy, but he quickly warms up. He loves a good bed, he likes to play, he's very social, and he's just looking for love. Come to Old Bridge Animal Shelter to meet Pepper. You'll fall in love.
It's fine that other people like you. It's more important that you like yourself. And I'm comfortable with every part of me. Meals on Wheels coming to my door as someone who's housebound assures me that I'm not forgotten. They care that I'm okay. My name is Asha Ida Bell. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Drop that baby.
Folks, welcome back to Old Bridge Outlook with Mayor Owen Henry. Today we have as our guest Angus Baptiste, who is going to be the Grand Marshal of the parade on Memorial Day here in the township. Angus, if I can pick up a little bit, you were deployed to Korea at one point, right?
Yes.
And you did a great job there. You were at what rank and what office did you hold there?
I was a captain
Right.
in Korea, and my title or my duty was as a battalion communication officer for a Patriot battalion.
Well,
Patriot missile.
well, as the mayor just alluded to, Korea's a little bit of a touchy spot today.
Yes, it is.
To be there.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
I
is.
bet it is. One thing I'd like to cite, if I may, folks, is an evaluation that Captain Baptiste received from his commanding officer in Korea. And I'm going to read it because it really says a lot. It says that an exceptional performance by a rising star of an officer in Captain Angus Baptiste. As a junior captain, Angus has delivered products and accomplished milestones in areas of communication comparable to what is expected of a higher grade officer. His feat has never been accomplished since the battalion was deployed to Korea. And that was in reference to Captain Baptiste's performance. That says a lot about you in many ways.
Thank you.
What did you do to achieve this kind of evaluation? It's magnificent.
A host of different tasks or feats. When I first got there, we did have the battalion commander did have a challenge in communicating with his troops from his base, from his fob to the troops that he would send out to the field. So the way a Patriot missile defense battalion is broken down into about 3 or 4 different companies.
Yes, sir.
And at any time war can kick off or any deployment, they would go to different areas on the peninsula. And of course, the battalion commander or the war commander will have a BOC or an area of operation back at the home base, and he would be communicating with his troops. Well, the battalion at the time had major communication issues. They could not communicate securely.
Okay.
Without, so obviously, that's a huge problem.
Communication
So my
officer.
first major task was to get them up and running, and to secure them with secure communication. So that was a huge project. It took a lot of work, a lot of teamwork, and just a lot of logistics, not just with the U.S. Army, but with other branches, the Korean nationals, the Korean military, and I was in charge of that project. But to make a long story short, within the first 2 to 3 months, we were able to get it up and running, and the commander did have secure communication. Something that I think he would never forget, because
obviously he
they
didn't
had
forget.
they had a huge celebration about it. So,
Recognized you beautifully. You also were a battalion training officer in Afghanistan during Enduring Freedom.
Yes. Prior to our deployment with a prior unit, that was back in Germany. Sorry, I'm trying to get the name of the. We deployed. So I prepared the battalion to deploy down to Afghanistan, and then once we got there, like I was assigned as a battle captain once on the ground, and that's basically we just monitored the battlefield. I was in communication, and we would send out communication notes that would support the combatant commander out at different FOBs or bases.
But you had a lot of responsibility as a trainer too. You were training.
Both
our forces and
indigenous.
Forces.
Well, prior to the deployment, I had to prepare the battalion, all 550 or close to 500 soldiers in weapons in weapons qualification, PT training, just getting them up and ready for a deployment, and I was in charge of that. So, I did a good job of that too.
Okay, well, as I say, you did a fine job.
Yeah. Well, try.
When you were in about 2002, 2014, you ran into some issues, some health issues?
Yeah, I had a previous airborne injury as a U.S. paratrooper back at Fort Benning. On one of my night jumps, I injured my back, my spine. And so I was able to recover fairly quickly, but a few years later in my deployment to Afghanistan, I re-injured my back, and from that point it was a downward spiral, like with my health condition. So that pretty much rendered me ineffective after a couple of years.
So you essentially retired in 2014?
In 2014, unfortunately.
Which leads me to the next subject, and Mayor, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Angus has set up a business. Tell us about Premier Home Care, if you would, and what you're doing.
Premier Home Care is a home care agency that serves veterans and other seniors who are in need of some type of assistance in what we call ADLs, activities of daily living. So that can be personal care, companionship, and that, stuff from simple as going to the bathroom, meal preparation, appointment reminders, medication reminders. And we also offer skilled nursing for those who may need some type of physical therapy or other types of skill nursing.
Well, you mentioned off the air you set this up because you saw yourself when you were going through your injuries, your wife had to take care of you,
yes.
So you could see the need for other people to be cared for.
It was a very personal project
I bet.
for me because, when I got my injury in the military, it was for the very first time that I felt vulnerable, and I saw what veterans went through and disabled veterans went through. So just being this stud for most of my career, 13, 14 years,
sir.
And then all of a sudden I was rendered ineffective, combat ineffective, barely being able to walk at some point. That was pretty difficult for me. And just the whole process of getting care after my first surgery, my condition got worse.
Yes, sir.
It worsened, and just me needing home care, and my wife, being home, trying to help me on a daily basis, being on crutches.
Yes.
It really pushed me and said, hey, I really got to do something to help veterans who was going through this situation. So.
How do people hear about you, and how can we help you here today?
Well, we are doing a lot of what we call, boots on the ground marketing, where we're, going into skilled nursing facilities, and nursing homes. We are coordinating with other home care agencies, and just reaching out to veterans. And
do you have a phone number we can put up on the screen for you?
Absolutely, it's 732-698-CARE, CARE. Which
CARE.
Yeah, which stands for 2273.
Okay.
Okay, and that's Premier Home Care, and we are located in East Brunswick, New Jersey, just about 10 minutes from here.
Okay.
And that's where our office is at. Like, you can call us at any time, 24 hours, and even
on
on weekends. If I'm not in the office, I do have an answering service that will reach out to us.
That's fantastic. This has become your full-time.
Yes. My goal is to take care of our veterans, and not just our veterans, but other seniors. Initially, it was just for veterans, and then I found out there's other seniors that need it, or people in need of those services.
Right. Mayor, before we go, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't just pick off some of the many awards that Angus has won.
You'd be remiss if you didn't, Gene.
Yes. Afghan Campaign Medal, 2 Campaign Stars, Meritorious Service Ribbon, Army Achievement Medal, Superior Unit Award, Good Conduct Medal, Career Defense Medal, Non-Commissioned Officer, Professional Development Medal, a NATO Medal as a paratrooper, Pretty impressive, and I think I just touched on quite a few of them, but not all of them.
Yes.
We will get to see them all on Memorial Day Parade, Angus.
Absolutely. I'll be wearing my uniform
Yeah,
proudly
that's what we
with
were
Helma
talking,
medals and, all shaved up, and, I'll be prepared. I'm
Okay.
looking forward
Combat ready.
to it. Combat ready. Oh.
Angus, how do you feel about being selected as Grand Marshal?
It's a great honor. It's just it speaks volumes, and I'm very appreciative that that I was given that opportunity. It's just such an honor.
And what else can we do? What should we be doing to take care of the veterans?
Just putting it out there. The care that veterans need. Like a lot of times, we give a lot of lip service, not intentionally. We do mean well, but we don't follow up on it. So like whatever we can do, not just on a big level, but just in our local community. Like you meet a veteran out there, like you can see them like with the hats quite often.
Sure, yes.
Just give them a greeting, say, hey, how you doing? A lot of them just, just talking or saying hi is quite therapeutic. And, and as you know, with the long wars that we have, PTSD is such a huge problem now. So a lot of them do need to talk and.
And that seems to be a real tragedy, the PTSD thing, and the suicide rate seems to be just incredibly sad.
Yes, always.
Incredibly sad,
Always.
and the employment possibilities too. Do you
That
help them
too.
with employment? The people with employment, are you able to help them get jobs? Or
Yes,
is it part
absolutely.
of your service?
And in fact, we do target veterans. My home care agency is is one of the home care agencies that we do a program called Veteran Camaraderie. And that's basically, I try to take on veterans with me. I'll hire them, and we would go out to the homes and maybe spend a couple hours each week with the veterans, just talking about military days. A lot of senior vets really enjoy talking about their service, World War II, Korea.
I bet.
And they can talk all day about it. So
Yeah, we have a few people in this town can do
yes,
that. So.
yes.
Yes.
So we find that very therapeutic, and so that's one of the services that we try to offer to cater just to veterans, not who just need services, but like a way of hiring veterans as well.
Mayor, I think we talk frequently on this program about people in our community that make genuine, real contributions to society, and I think our guest today has certainly done that, huh?
An outstanding American.
Yeah.
An outstanding resident of our town. We are so proud to have you at our parade, and I encourage every resident of Old Bridge to come out on that Memorial Day. It's a 2 or 3 hour event,
Right.
but you have an obligation, you have a duty to come out there and say thank you to Angus for his services to this country.
Absolutely.
And remember those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice, which we do on Memorial Day.
Which we do on Memorial, exactly. And I told Angus before we went on the air that he gets to ride in a car with the Grand Marshal banner on the side of it.
It's the Grand Marshal.
So everybody knows who you are.
Couldn't say enough.
Okay.
The parade is usually well attended. I expect it to be even more attended this year, so you're going to see a great cheering crowd.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Rain or shine.
Oh.
Last year
last year we had a little both, a
we
little
had
rain and a little
both,
shine.
it was.
Well, Angus, I certainly want to thank you for coming in today. You've been a great guest, and thank you for your service. You've
Thank
been a
you,
wonderful
sir.
soldier and a wonderful
Thank you,
citizen.
sir.
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
service.
Thank you, Mayor.
We're
Thank
lucky.
you.
Thank
It's
you.
an honor.
Old Bridge is
Thank you
proud of
very
you.
much.
And folks, before we go, I just want to make 2 quick announcements about the ceremonies coming up on Memorial Day weekend. On Friday, May 26th at 10:30 a.m., there will be a wreath-laying ceremony out here in front of the George Bush Center by the monument. And on the 29th, as the mayor just alluded, Monday, May 29th, 9 a.m., the Memorial Day Parade will kick off from Eli School at 9 a.m. and go down Lawrence Harbor Parkway. It winds up at the monument with some speech making and some ceremonies, a gun salute, and laying of another wreath there. So please, as the mayor just said, please come on out, recognize our veterans, those who are still living, recognize those who have paid the price. And meanwhile, thank you for watching. I'm Gene McLaughlin. We'll see you next time. Take care.